Okay, as we sum up Chapter 4, Culture and Religion in Eurasia and North Africa, some things I wanted you to think about and reflect on when it comes to religion and historians. Religion is a sensitive subject for historians just like it is others. Secular and evidence-based history versus faith has been a hot topic. How are historians who use a social, scientific method of analysis based on evidence to deal with the mysteries of faith? So there are important points of tension between believers and historians. Change of time in faith. Religions present themselves as timeless, but historians see development over time as a human phenomenon, if you will. And the experience of a divine reality, how is this to be verified? Historians have a trouble dealing with believers' experimental claims. And also, the schisms or the splits within the faiths. This happened with Catholicism, it happened with Islam, it's happened with Protestants. Which group within a religion is authentic? Historians usually refuse to take sides, but how can a historian, assess one's claim to have encountered God, or if historians give an account on various sides in a religious conflict, do they risk entering the debate? So it can be difficult to reconcile personal religious belief with historical scholarship, and these second-wave religious traditions are enormously important in world history. Hopefully you guys remember talking about the visual images from Chapter 4 that we discussed earlier this week. All right, the first one, the footprints of the Buddha. And, the overall message from this footprint, it's associated with the symbols that call to mind the entire message of the Buddha, his personal example and purity, his teachings, and the community of followers that he left behind. And it also suggests that his teachings were spiritually available to the faithful, despite his physical absence from the picture. And this one, the Gandhara Buddha. What's the larger meaning of the Buddha, what the Buddha's followers might take from this story? The story reveals how the Buddha overcame earthly temptations, but it's also a cautionary tale warning that there are deities or others in the world who could seek to tempt the faithful, and it might provide inspiration for a follower who struggles with those temptations. Okay, and this one, a Bodhisattva of compassion, the cannon of 1,000 arms. So, with this image, some scholars have identified similarities between the Bodhisattva and the Virgin Mary. For example, in the Christian tradition, what common elements and differences can we see here? Okay, what's common? Their associations with compassion, the tradition of believers directly petitioning them for help, their positions as holy figures who were nonetheless human, reputations for helping people, and some rather feminine features. But their differences include coming from very different religious traditions and beliefs, the relationship that they had with the divine, and even their life stories are different. All right, and the Chinese Buddha. It's the last visual image for Chapter 4. In what ways does this figure represent an adaptation of Buddhist imagery to Chinese culture? And when you think about that, consider what you know about Confucian and Taoist postures to the world. So the modeling of a future Buddha on a Chinese monk provides a tangible link to China for what was in large part a foreign religion because of the heavy Confucius traditions that had already been established. In the Chinese system, this figure represents some features of the Taoist tradition, and that his countenance evokes a sense of spontaneity and the happiness from that spontaneity. But unlike other bodhisattvas, he does not seek learning or control over his environment through meditation, thereby practicing the Taoist tradition of eschewing learning. But also, his promised appearance in the future fits well with the concepts of the Tao, where individuals are encouraged not to seek to force change, but rather to accept it when it happens. And that concludes chapter 4.